Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, F-18 Super Hornet, Formula One race car, save the world, win a race for rich people. It's the same. Thank you for jumping into Movie Tactics with me today. We're going to be discussing Apple's highest grossing movie yet, F1. I saw F1 opening weekend when it hit theaters, and I saw it in Dolby, right? So I wanted to make sure the seats kind of shake, the audio was amazing, the visuals were on par with what this film should be. And it did not disappoint from a visual and audio perspective. But I was a little nervous about this movie, and it's because I don't really follow Formula One, so I didn't really know what to expect. And I know that movies like this, racing movies, movies based where you have to be kind of an enthusiast to enjoy, they need to have something for everyone in the audience. So that way you can reach a broader part of the audience. And I was a little worried that I would either get bored in the over 2.5 hour runtime of this movie, or just not understand what really is going on. And I'm happy to report that that was not the case. I thoroughly enjoyed F1. Now, if you haven't seen F1 yet, this is a spoiler-free review. So let's jump right in and talk about some of the key points of this movie and then talk about what I thought about it. So Brad Pitt plays Sonny Hayes, and he is a racer in the 1990s. Now he has a big accident, and then 30 years later, after almost ending his career entirely, he gets back into the circuit and joins a struggling Formula One team with Javier Bardem and Damson Idris and Carrie Condon. They all make up, along with a bunch of supporting cast, the Apex GP, which is spelled APXGP for their Formula One team. Now, part of the reason I was really kind of nervous going into this movie was Formula One is kind of like soccer in the US, where it is not followed as closely as the rest of the world, where Formula One and soccer, or football they call it, right? That is super popular around the world with the World Cup and the Formula One circuit that visits all these different countries, and they have this whole racing season where they're competing to win these circuits, win these races, and have these insane cars. And that was something I wasn't really truly expecting, was just kind of really feeling for this team and really feeling for Brad's character and Javier's character and Damson's character, trying to get a feel for what they're going through. And there's a lot more emotions to this movie than I kind of anticipated going into it. And one of the best parts about this movie is the fact that even though it has over 2.5 hour runtime, I remember laughing with the audience. I remember sitting on the edge of my seat for a lot of these races that they're going through, a lot of the problems they have, a lot of the issues they come up with that they have to solve a problem for, come up with a solution right on the fly. There's a lot of hiccups along the way. There are bad guys in this movie as well, trying to hinder the team or make it so that they don't win for one reason or another. And it just seemed like it was a good overall arch in this movie where I was entertained the entire time. There wasn't really a lull point. And in fact, I didn't even get up to go anywhere. I didn't go to the bathroom, didn't get a refill for a drink or anything, because this movie just had you sitting there just really enjoying it and understanding these characters and getting a feel for what they're going through. Not only that, if you go into this movie like I did, where F1 is something you're not really too in tune with, they explain it in a way that isn't just blatant on the screen. They're like, well, F1 is this, and this car does this. This is how this works. This is the different levels of the tournament. They kind of go through the motions in an ease you into it kind of way, where I kind of remind me of watching Top Gun Maverick, which of course is the exact same director with Joseph Kosinski. It feels the same. This is essentially Top Gun Maverick for F1 racing, and it felt that same energy, the shots, the quick little takes, and then also just the comedy behind it. There's like little comedy pieces in the background of this movie. They aren't really just out there saying this is a comedy part of this movie. It just kind of like funny things here and there where you get a good chuckle out of it, keeps the movie going. And I think Brad did such a great job playing this Sonny Hayes in the movie that you really kind of get a feel for what he's gone through. He kind of talks briefly about his life, but none of the characters get really deep. If you remember in Top Gun Maverick, it was just a very entertaining movie. You really feel for the characters. You kind of follow them through this whole journey of the movie, but you never get too deep, but you kind of feel where they're coming from. They've had pain, they've had divorces or kids that have left them or whatever it is, where they've had some trauma in the past or major accidents on a race course. And you kind of get a feel for what happened to them and kind of understand what they're going through to get to where they are today. A couple of things I think towards the end of the movie were a little far-fetched. I thought that the overall racing of the actual races that they're in was a much smaller part of this movie. A lot of it is more character development behind the scenes of the cars and understanding how the team works and understanding kind of what each member of the team does. So you get to learn a lot about Formula One, and there are some inaccuracies, I'm sure, throughout this whole movie. I've heard some talks of how, oh, that was definitely not something that's actually possible, or that this regulation doesn't exist, or this can't be done. Again, it's a movie, though. It's entertaining. And one of the really cool things was I watched an interview with Brad Pitt. He was talking about how they were in these cars racing. And now normally in a movie like this, you'd have stunt performers or you do CGI. You'd have the cockpit of like the actual race car, whatever you want to call it, where it's like surrounded by screens, and you'd have like CGI kind of fill in for the racing. No. They drove these cars almost 200 miles per hour to get these cars to get the best feel and actual footage they can to make it that much more realistic. So what you're seeing on screen was actually done. And I remember Brad was saying in this interview that they actually had trouble with the insurance company, rightfully so. These famous stars who are going into these cars, especially Brad being the headliner of this movie, it's a big insurance liability to have him in these cars where normally be like, I'll put a stunt guy in there and let him race. And then they originally were like, well, go 50 miles per hour, go under 100 miles per hour in these cars. And like, no, these Formula One cars, they're not a Toyota Camry. They need to go 180 miles per hour plus in order to be stable, drive how they're meant to be designed to drive on this track. And it was just kind of fascinating to hear from a background perspective on how they actually went to the insurance company, went back and forth, and now they're in these race cars, and he's attended a bunch of actual races, kind of get a feel for it. So they did the research, and it seems like he is actually a Formula One fan now. And that kind of showed on screen. I thought that everyone who was on the team was really talking the lingo, really kind of understanding why they're there, what their job was in each of their roles to support the overall team. And it's crazy how much of a team sport that Formula One actually is. It's not just a driver and some mechanics. It's this whole team working together and under like several seconds to change out tires and fix a problem. It's just insane. I mean, NASCAR pit crews we've seen before. Formula One is just so much more high tech. There's a lot of money in it. Obviously, it's really a rich man sport. All these cars are worth millions and millions of dollars. These car companies are well known, and they have these aerodynamics, and it's not just your typical type of car that you're racing, where they used to throw together like a Chevy Malibu or something back in the day. There are all these other well-known brands for car manufacturers that are racing in Formula One, and I think they were kind of putting this Apex GP as the underdog, making their own car, where they have this whole adventure campus where they develop this car or the several cars they have to race, and they develop the technology and they add little tweaks along the way to kind of make it go faster and hug the track better and improve the engine stability. They have these simulators that they sit in to kind of, or 40 simulators really, to kind of sit in and understand how the car is going to act. All that just seems like it's very much a rich man's type of sport. There's a lot of money in this, and there's a lot at stake, money and personnel wise, because it's a very dangerous sport where it seems like one small move or one tire rub sends you flying into the woods or off track, and that is a very dangerous scenario. And you kind of get the feel for danger while watching this movie, especially because they were driving. They have this incredible footage with all these cameras around the race car. You can kind of see every single angle and get a real feel for it. Highly recommended on IMAX or Dolby, just because it just felt so much more real. And I'm very happy that Apple did decide to release it in theaters first, because this is one of those movies, kind of like Top Gun Maverick, where you really get a feel for it if you're sitting in the theater and you feel that roar of the engine and the tire squeals and the crashes and all that. It just felt so much more entertaining. And that's what movies movies really are. I mean, like I said, the story wasn't that deep, but I thought that movies should be entertaining still. I think we go to the movie to really check out and just kind of relax, watch a story unfold, and get an idea on what these guys are going through and just kind of understand a different world from our own. And I learned a lot about Formula One just watching this movie, and I definitely would watch it again. I'm going to give F1 a 93%. I think that it has that entertainment value that will reach a lot more of a broader audience than just the racing enthusiast. And I think they did a fantastic job to capture the magic that was Top Gun Maverick. I'd watch it again and again for sure. What did you guys think of F1? Did you see it already? Were there any pitfalls you saw? Especially if you know anything about Formula One, let me know down below. What were some of the errors in the movie? I'm fascinated to kind of see from that world how accurate the movie really was. But let me also know down below what you thought about the movie, if you thought they did a good job in kind of representing the actual sport of Formula One. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this quick review of F1, and I'll see you guys in the next movie review.